Hello, Chattanooga. How are you doing today? Can today be hump day? Because we're like this close to Thanksgiving. And so this is kind of the middle of the week, right? From where we are now, you'd have to think. Which puts us that much closer to Thanksgiving Day football, which is always nice. I'm actually worried about my Redskins. We'll talk about that later. That puts us that much closer to college football coming up this weekend. All of the rivalries, right? Tennessee, Vanderbilt, which is an interesting game. Not supposed to be an interesting game, is actually a very fascinating football game because Tennessee is in shambles. And while Vanderbilt's not great, they're not. You've got the Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama. And you've got Clemson and South Carolina playing in their rivalry game. And that game has resulted in Dabo Swinney trying to convince us that that game is important and trying so hard to convince us that that game is important that the man is sitting out here telling us lies. So we'll talk about that in this show. But first, allow me to talk about Jalen Hurts and Jarrett Stidham, the two quarterbacks that will be featured in the Iron Bowl this Saturday, because A, they're two of the best quarterbacks in the entire conference. Jarrett Stidham has been everything as advertised since he's been on the team. And I mean, absolutely everything is advertised. He's been incredible. He throws the ball accurately downfield, and there was an adjustment period, right? It took a little bit. Gus Malzahn had to figure out how to use Jarrett Stidham. Gus Malzahn, of course, using Cam Newton. That's the kind of system that Malzahn would rather have, right? And there are implications to this, by the way, because Gus Malzahn might be out at Auburn, right? Like his contract is up. He can choose to leave if he so desires. And if Auburn's not willing to pony up the money to keep Gus Malzahn, he could just walk on over to Arkansas, where he already has a connection with the athletic director over there. I mean, the new one. So you can already tell, hey, that is an open spot. Gus Malzahn can go there if Auburn does not appreciate him as much as they should have. Because Gus Malzahn is a guy that I think has had to deal with the pressure of keeping up with Nick Saban in the same state as Nick Saban. That's tough. Gus Malzahn is also a guy who was able to win a national title, right? And then hasn't done a whole lot. Like, the record hasn't been great for Gus Malzahn at Auburn. And you could always make the excuse that many other coaches make, which is that, look, he's an offensive guy. He should have a quarterback. If you give him a quarterback, he'll be successful. The thing with Gus is that that's actually true. If you give him a quarterback who can actually play, he actually is successful. Like, that's something that's actually factually true in a way that it hasn't been true with a number of other coaches, i.e. Jim McElwain down in Florida. Jim McElwain, I thought, also an offensive guy. I always thought, look, you give Jim McElwain a quarterback that can play, he should be successful, right? And I saw a little bit of that when they had Will Grier for the whole cup of coffee that they had Will Grier. That they looked like a good offense with that young man throwing the football. For whatever reason, they were not able to keep him, and now Will Grier's in West Virginia tearing up the Big 12. When he's gotten close, they haven't looked much more functional. Like, you go out, you make a big stink about having the SEC change its rules so you can get Malik Zaire from Notre Dame as a graduate transfer. You get Malik Zaire and literally don't ever really play him, right? You play him for a half. And at some point, you just have to be like, look, are we giving that guy a chance or not? But he was just never impressed by Malik Zaire, which for me speaks poorly, I think, of Malik Zaire, but also Malik Zaire was not garbage at Notre Dame. Like, he wasn't great. Trust, I'm not by any sense of the word like great, like he was just pulling all these statistical numbers, and he did have some injury troubles, but he wasn't garbage at all. Like that wasn't him by any stretch of the imagination. He was a good quarterback, a solid quarterback. And for a team that was desperately thirsting for solid quarterback play, for Jim McElwain to never be able to really figure out how to use Malik Zaire after going through all the effort of trying to get Malik Zaire, and they went up against Texas because Texas wanted him too, and they were able to get him over Texas. That, to me, is problematic. There's no other way to look at it. That's problematic if you're Jim McElwain. And you look at other quarterback or other coaches too who have had quarterback issues, and you go, if you ever gave that guy a quarterback, he should be good. Gus Malzahn is one of the rare guys where you give him the quarterback and he actually does turn out to be successful. Auburn has been nothing but a revelation this season. Their defense has been good carrying over from last year. The defense was good last year too, but they just weren't able to put the ball in the end zone. You add the passing game of a Jarrett Stidham to what it is that Auburn wants to do running the football with Cameron Petway at running back, and you go, yeah, this team is lethal, absolutely lethal. And so the game against Alabama ought to be a good game, right? But I look at Jarrett Stidham and go, he's the reason why. He's the complete catalyst why. And Gus Malzahn should just be thanking this young man every day because he decided to transfer. December 10th is the 1 year anniversary of when Jarrett Stidham decided he wanted to be an Auburn Tiger. And he has bid nothing but money for this school. So you have to go ahead and just give that young man a lot of credit. But when I look across the sideline, right, and I look at Alabama and I look at Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts does not get the respect that Jalen Hurts absolutely deserves. He does. He doesn't. Like when I look at Jalen Hurts isn't the most impressive quarterback I've ever seen. Right? Like when you look at the quarterbacks that are mobile and that run, he's not the fastest. Right? He's not the most dynamic. When I see Lamar Jackson run, Lamar Jackson is dynamic. When I see Nick Fitzgerald at Miss State run, yeah, that young guy is dynamic. The quarterback over at Texas A&M, Kirk Christian is his name, I think. He's dynamic, man. That guy's fast. There are guys that are blazing when I watch them play, and they're dynamic. Jalen Hurts is quick. He is quick. I'm not going to sit here and act like that guy's not fast either. But he's not dynamic like those guys with his legs. And throwing the football, look, Jalen Hurts is a very good passer from short range to intermediate passing. He is. But the deep ball for Jalen Hurts has never been his specialty. He's never thrown a beautiful ball. He's not the most accurate guy in college football, but Jalen Hurts doesn't get his due in a lot of places, right? One is turnovers. Jalen Hurts does not turn the ball over. This entire season, Jalen Hurts has exactly one turnover, one interception that he has thrown, that I believe he threw in the game against Miss State. Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown an interception this year. Jalen Hurts, for as much as he runs the football, hasn't fumbled the ball this year. My man has not coughed up the football once. That is impressive and amazing when you consider that he accounts for 22 touchdowns and over 2,100 yards of offense. But Jalen Hurts is a ball protector. And that's one of the main reasons why he has been able to keep his job. But the other thing that Jalen Hurts does really well, and we've talked about this before, but I got to talk about it again, is that Jalen Hurts is incredibly clutch. No disrespect to Jarrett Stidham and Auburn, but Auburn hasn't won close games. The close games that Auburn has been in, they've lost. Every other game that they've won, right, because they've only lost 2 games this season, but every other game that they've won by 2 touchdowns or more. Like they haven't been a school that's needed to score a ton of points. or needed to hold any tight leads, rather. They need to score a ton of points, and they usually do. But when they don't, when they can't beat you by 2 touchdowns, you can beat them. And do I think this game is going to be close? Maybe. Maybe. It's got a lot of things going for it that cause this game to have the possibility to be very close. Right? One is that Auburn's a 2-dimensional football team, which helps. They're a 2-dimensional football team. They run the ball and they pass the ball. You have to be that against Alabama. It also helps that Auburn's own defense is right up there with Alabama's defense as being a great defense. It helps that their very own defense is that kind of defense. That's impressive. Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, here on 92.7 FM. But Jarrett Stidham's not the kind of quarterback that gives Alabama fits. The kind of quarterback that gives Alabama fits, well, you saw it in the Miss State game. Nick Fitzgerald gave Alabama fits. That guy, because he can make plays with his legs. Quarterbacks that can make plays with their feet, that can extend and buy time and space with their legs, those guys give Alabama fits. Right? You're a traditional pocket passer, and you can beat Alabama. It's not impossible. But you're going to have more difficulty. It's going to be a taller order to ask of you. And I'm a big fan of the way that Jarrett Stidham plays. But if he doesn't flash some of his mobility, and he's got a little, like Jarrett Stidham's more mobile than he gets credit for. But if he doesn't flash some of that mobility in big moments in Saturday's game, look, that defense is going to swallow that kid alive. Like they do everybody else. Now, in fairness, Jarrett Stidham is the most talented quarterback passing the football that they have played, right? For all the praise that I heap on Nick Fitzgerald, because I like him a lot, he's not the greatest passer of the football, right? His accuracy still hovers around the low 60%, right? Which is still better than he was last year. I believe last year he was a 54% passer. So trending upwards, which is good, but he's still not the most accurate guy. And you need accuracy if you're going to beat the Crimson Tide. That's not optional at all. You need to be accurate throwing the football. You need to take care of it. You need to fit the ball in tight windows when that's all that they give you. You need to understand when it's time to check down. You need to understand when it's time to take risks. Your throws to the sideline need to be perfect because their DBs will not let you just throw it wherever you want to, right? And by the way, last week against Kentucky, Jake Fromm showed us that he is a very accurate passer. He is a very good quarterback. And Alabama made poor Jake Fromm look like he was not even there. Just erased his existence from that football game. It's like if you walked away from that football game going, what did Jake Fromm do? Nothing is the answer. And it's not even his fault. It's not even his fault. It's crazy to me. And Jarrett Stidham's going to have to be the most perfect version of himself if he's going to want to have a chance to be able to beat Alabama. And Alabama's got to figure out a way to take away one dimension that Auburn offers. Because both of these schools play very good defense. And I don't know if you're going to end up in a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game. My guess is probably the latter, just because the defenses are so good. But this is a game, Auburn poses a bigger threat to Alabama than anybody has all season. This game matters a ton. And, of course, it's the Iron Bowl. Clutch with Keon Rose, Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Coming up this Saturday is not only the Iron Bowl, is not only a lot of these rivalry games, but It's Small Business Saturday. We have partnered with American Express to present to you Small Business Saturday. We will be going around to all of the small businesses in the area and giving profiles on all of them. That includes Mountain Oaks Wedding, Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, Loa's Grocery, Covington Credit, The Knife Shop in Ottawa, and more. So keep an ear out for that. And of course, if you want to be a part of it, you can always hit us up on our Facebook page. Send us a message. We respond to everything. I don't know if you've been over there. We'd love to hear from you guys because you guys are very smart, thought-provoking people, right? We love to hear from you guys. So, another rivalry game that's coming up this Saturday. South Carolina and Clemson, right? It's a South Carolina in-state rivalry. And that's one of the cool things about this point in the college football season. A lot of places play their in-state rivals. You got Oregon playing Oregon State. That's pretty cool. Georgia and Georgia Tech. That's pretty cool. Florida, Florida State. That's pretty cool. And you got Clemson and South Carolina. And that's pretty cool. Now, the Iron Bowl is a game that's got a lot of weight and a lot of heft and a lot of meaning to it. I don't think that anybody looks at Clemson, South Carolina and goes, this game is as important as the Iron Bowl. Well, that's what I would have thought, except Dabo Swinney is trying to explain to the rest of us why it is that we should be watching South Carolina Clemson. And he said, reporter asked him, what's the difference between the Iron Bowl and South Carolina Clemson? And Dabo Swinney said this. Yep, don't have the audio working on that. But this is what Dabo Swinney said. Dabo Swinney said there's no difference. It's just the logos are different. And this is what I have to say to that. What? Are you insane? What are you crazy? First off, the Iron Bowl is, I never grew up in the South. And I knew what the Iron Bowl was. This game means, this is a huge game. This game means way too much to way too many people. And it means way too much to suggest that somehow Clemson and South Carolina are on equal footing. And this is from Dabo Swinney, who grew up in Alabama. Like, there's no excusing this. Now, I can understand if there was a coach and he's from New York or he's from Massachusetts or he's from California, and maybe he doesn't quite grasp the weight of the Iron Bowl. But how betrayed do you feel that Dabo Swinney, who's from the state, it's not that he doesn't get it, it's that he's lying. I heavily assert that Dabo Swinney is standing out here lying to us. That's not the truth. And he knows it's not the truth. What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? Like, seriously, man, have you lost it? My guy is out here trying to convince the world that Clemson, South Carolina holds similar weight to the Iron Bowl. What on earth are you talking about, man? What are you doing? We all know the truth on this one. Dabo Swinney is out here just mischaracterizing the truth. I mean, that to me, that has got to be the greatest lie that anybody has told with a straight face ever. I'll try to get the audio on that in a little bit here. But I mean, that has to be the greatest lie. What are you talking about, man? Like, Clemson, South Carolina is not only not going to be a good game this year, it doesn't have that same historical value. Like, this is Come on, South Carolina is not like a traditional college football power. Auburn and Alabama can both boast that, right? Clemson is not a traditional college football power. For goodness sakes, there's a reason why there are rumors that Dabo Swinney might go to Alabama and succeed Nick Saban whenever Nick Saban decides to hang it up. Because Alabama would mean a whole lot more to him than Clemson would. Now, I'm a guy that I contend if you win a national championship with a college football team and you're still good and they're still good and everybody's still happy, you tend not to leave. To what end? Right? Like, it's not like Clemson isn't one of the top teams in the ACC, and it's not like Dabo Swinney isn't making the money, right? Like, maybe Alabama could afford to pay him more than Clemson, but not much more. How many more millions do you need? Like, Clemson's already paying him a lot. Dabo Swinney is already one of the top 10 coaches in terms of payment in all of college football. So Dabo Swinney didn't have to stand there and lie like this. He did not have to do that. That's a lie. That is a tall tale. That is a fib. That is a fabrication, sir. And if you truly believe that, then you're crazy. Because let's face it, in order to tell a convincing lie, you have to lie to yourself first. You have to convince you that what you're saying is true. That's how you tell a great lie, right? Because if you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it either. And I think Dabo Swinney is in the process of trying to convince himself that what he is saying is true. And I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. No one ever gets excited for Clemson, South Carolina outside of the state of South Carolina. As I mentioned before, I've never lived in Alabama. I've never lived in Alabama. And I get excited about the Iron Bowl. In fact, if your rivalry doesn't really have a name, how am I supposed to expect you to be up there with the Iron Bowl? The Iron Bowl is hugely important. And then when Oregon and Oregon State play, they call that the Civil War, which I think is also cool. And that's hugely important. I don't know all of these people out here just excited and clamoring for Clemson and South Carolina. Clemson and South Carolina is not up to Iron Bowl standards. It's not up to Florida State standards. It's not up to Georgia Tech standards. And Georgia's been walking through Georgia Tech for as long as I can remember. I mean, it's not up to any of those standards. There's 3 rivalry games right there that you're not even on the same league with. And you're going to contend with me that this is somewhere anywhere near the importance level of the Iron Bowl? Are you mental? Are you out of your gourd? Maybe. Dabo Swinney does strike me as one of those guys that's a little... He's very passionate and out there. He's not quite Jim Harbaugh, right? Not quite Harbaugh. He's like that next step down, though. He might be a little crazy. Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, here on 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
A drive-by shooting in Chattanooga leaves one man cut down, lying on the street bleeding. Tony Williams, who's 26, says he was walking along Dodson Avenue when an unknown car pulled up beside him. Someone leaned out and opened fire. Mr. Williams is recovering in the hospital. He told police he doesn't know who shot him or why. The Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. William Travis Williams is accused of trying to escape from Memorial Hospital, assaulting a hospital employee on the way out, getting into a fight with a policeman and taking his taser, then hiding inside a homeowner's domicile, fighting with the homeowner, getting into another fight with police where he was pepper sprayed. That didn't stop him either, before he was finally taken into custody by a canine unit. Mr. Williams charged with 6 counts of aggravated assault, resisting arrest, evading arrest, and especially aggravated burglary. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6 on Nooga Radio. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
Expect a few leftover clouds out there through your nighttime. Overnight lows cool between 38 and 41. For Wednesday, lots of sunshine returns. Nice but chilly, highs near 55. After lows into the lower to middle 30s, more sunshine Thanksgiving Day, back into the 50s. At Jared, they turn feelings into jewelry. It could be a piece that jewelry designers create just for Jared, or a piece custom made just for you. The one unique gift just for her. That's why he went to Jared. And I'm Soaring Gene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Sonia with the Mountain Oaks Weddings, Events, and Tea Room in Ottawa, located in the former James County Courthouse. Go back in style when you're planning your next event. Mountain Oaks is a full-service wedding venue and catering facility. No fuss, no mess, no cleanup when you schedule your next special event with Mountain Oaks. Leave the planning and the work to the experts, but take all the credit for your wonderful event. Call me, Sonia, at Mountain Oaks today at 423-238-9333 and leave the work to us.
423-238-9333 or stop by our location on Church Street in Ottawa.
Pulse Centers of Chattanooga offers non-medical solutions to your body's problems using a state-of-the-art technology called pulsed electromagnetic fields, PEMF for short. We help fuel the body's natural healing response. If you're tired of taking harmful, addictive drugs that only dull your pain and cause awful side effects, the knowledgeable, friendly staff at Pulse Centers can help you end that cycle.
Call to schedule a free whole body assessment at 423-771-7755. That's 423-771-7755. An automated nuclear missile defense system has suddenly entered into launch mode, and you are the only one who can stop it. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Your team has just been infected with a deadly virus. Your only hope? There, in an abandoned farmhouse. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Handcuffed in a maximum security prison, you have an hour to flee. Escape Experience Chattanooga. These escape scenarios and more at Chattanooga's best escape room, game, and team building platform. Call now. Slots are limited. Register online at escapeexperience.com/Chattanooga. Escape Experience Chattanooga.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. If you're listening on YouTube and you are confused because the stream is titled Sports Talk with Sam Jordan, which came on before this show, well, I'm sorry. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. And that's just what it is. I'll change the name of the thing later on YouTube. But anyway, so I had some audio to play for you. Some Dabo Swinney audio. We'll see if we got it working here. Because Dabo Swinney was trying to talk about South Carolina and Clemson. And the man tried to convince us, that South Carolina and Clemson is a game that holds just as much importance as the Iron Bowl. Have a listen.
I had a good understanding of what a rivalry was all about coming from Alabama. I lived in Alabama for 33 years. So, that's all I knew. And the whole zero difference in this state, zero, year round. That's all people talk about. It's just different logos, but it's the same type of intensity, emotion, no pro sports in here in this state. And so when I first got here, February of 03, and I went out on the road recruiting that first spring, I didn't have a clue. I didn't know anything about the state of South Carolina, and just, they put me down there in the PD, but I quickly figured it out, because everywhere I went, people were really happy to see me, or they just kind of looked at me like I had, a big wart on my nose or something. I don't know. And I'm just saying, hey, I'm the guy from Clemson, so it didn't take me long to figure out that this rivalry is as intense as there is anywhere in the country.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready? Ready!
Come on, man. Come on, man. This is what I'm talking about. This is when I talk about coaches, because people get on me for getting after coaches like this. Because, coaches will say things like, we just didn't perform well today. They just wanted it more. And then people come after me on Twitter when I make fun of coaches and go, well, what did you expect him to say? The truth. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Dabo Swinney knows that rivalry is not the same as the Iron Bowl. It's not. Now, you can make the argument that it is a big rivalry. And sure, what he was saying about the people of South Carolina really caring about this rivalry, like, that's true, probably, right? Like, if you live in South Carolina, like, what else you got, though? I mean, I haven't been in South Carolina very much. I've been a couple of times, but, like, what's in South Carolina that's so great? From what I understand, all the cool stuff that you really want to do is in North Carolina. Like, what's so great about South Carolina? Yeah, if you had South Carolina, yeah, South Carolina Clemson would be important to you too. Obviously. But man, don't lie to me. Don't sit there and tell me lies, which is what Dabo Swinney is attempting to do. Sit here and suppress the truth by telling me this.
I had a good understanding of what a rivalry was all about coming from Alabama. I lived in Alabama for 33 years. So, I mean, that's all I knew. And the whole zero difference in this state, zero, year round. That's all people talk about.
There's a difference. There is a difference. There's zero difference. The people of Alabama and the people of South Carolina may have some similarities, but Auburn and Alabama, to me, that's a tale as old as time. I remember when one time when Cam Newton was there, and Auburn beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. And then some Alabama fan poisoned the tree at Auburn, that really old tree that they have. They poisoned the tree. Why? Because there's nothing but hatred there. That rivalry is bigger. I promise. I promise. What do you mean there's no difference? That's insane. Like, that's just absolutely crazy. I'm not buying that. Nobody's buying that. You have to be out of your mind. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM Nooga Radio. NoogaRadio.com this Saturday, presenting Small Business Saturday, where we highlight all the small businesses in the greater Chattanooga area that make this city possible. And we're going to be going at 9:30 a.m. to Shooter's Supply. And then to Covington Credit and Mountain Oaks. And then Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds and Lowe's Grocery. We're going to go to Lowe's Grocery a few times. Two Crazy Greeks. Escape Experience, Chattanooga. The Knife Shop. Relics Antiques. Wine and Spirits on Signal Mountain. East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd. And Riley's Wine and Spirits in Hickson in the evening. We're going to be visiting all of these small businesses and seeing how they work and seeing what it is that they do that makes Chattanooga so special. And when we talk to them, you'll be able to see what it is that Nooga Radio can do for you so far as advertising goes. We're going to get your name out there. We're going to get some respect on your name. What? So here's a coaching idea that maybe didn't pop into your head. And maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I don't like it, but we'll see what you think. There's another coach's name who's popped up in the Tennessee coaching search, coaching carousel. And that would be current Ohio State defensive coordinator and former Rutgers head coach and former Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach, Greg Schiano. How do you feel about that? Because I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it, actually. I know exactly how I feel about that. Greg Schiano, to me, is a guy that has a reputation of being an uber disciplinarian, right? A guy who coaches football in such a manner that truly fun, right? This is two schools back now, right? Like, Rutgers was fairly successful under Greg Schiano. The Buccaneers were not successful at all under Greg Schiano. And I don't know that making Greg Schiano the head coach of your football program is necessarily the wisest decision. Now, I think Greg Schiano is a talented defensive coach. Like, Greg Schiano shows up to coach your school. I know one thing will be true. I make zero other predictions because I'm not that sure, but I'm sure about one thing. Your school's going to defend. You're not going to be giving up points, right? Like, that was the thing that Greg Schiano did at Rutgers that was amazing. Rutgers does not have top-tier talent in that conference, right? They're in the Big Ten. I don't know if you noticed because they spend most of their time getting stepped on by everybody else in the conference, but they're in the Big Ten. Rutgers, when Greg Schiano was there, they got beaten by a lot of schools, but they didn't give up a ton of points, right? Like, they didn't get stomped until after he left. And I don't know if you remember that game, that Michigan game last year where Michigan was up on them by like 50 points at halftime or whatever it was. Just continued to score on them like they weren't even there, like they were just playing football by themselves. Yeah, Greg Schiano shows up to your school, you play defense. Now, Greg Schiano shows up to your school, and you might be in a little bit of an LSU Les Miles situation because Greg Schiano shows up to your school, and there's no guarantee that you score either. Like, that's the other side of the coin. There's no guarantee that your offense does anything at all, right? And I feel like Greg Schiano might be too much of an overcorrection for Butch Jones, who seemed to have lost institutional control. When you have players that show up and say, look, we don't want to work with this strength and conditioning coach. We want to work with a strength and conditioning coach that gives us more freedom to do the workouts that we want to do. And then you're the head coach and you say yes, you don't have control of that locker room. Right? Like, if that rumor about Butch Jones is true, then that is an absolute fact. You didn't have control of that locker room at all. Now, here's the issue too, because Greg Schiano will have control of the locker room, but he might have so much control of the locker room, your players might not enjoy playing football. And I don't know if that's the thing that you want, if that's the overcorrection that you want to make, because sometimes it helps to overcorrect, right? Like, if your whole life people have known you to be a racist and you decide one day, you know what, I don't want to be that anymore, right? Like, maybe you stay away from just racial humor. It's an overcorrection, but it's the kind of overcorrection that makes sense. This is not the kind of overcorrection that makes sense, because you can get a guy that's got discipline, you can get a guy that's got principles, and you can get a guy that also doesn't coach football so that his players don't find it unenjoyable. Right? Like, that was the complaint from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It came a little bit from Rutgers too. But when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the players didn't like playing football. Now, to me, how overbearing do you have to be so that people who make millions of dollars to play a game no longer enjoy playing that game? Like, how overbearing do you have to be? Because this is a thing that's happened in the NFL before. You remember when Mike Singletary was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, like the Alex Smith's rookie season in the league, right? Everybody to a man said this about Mike Singletary. He's a brilliant coach, but it's not fun to play here anymore. That's not good. That guy, I don't want that guy to be the head coach of my team. I don't want that guy to be the CEO of my corporation. I want that guy to be middle management, right? Because he's the guy that's going to make sure everybody works hard. You hate him, but everyone's going to work hard. But he doesn't have so much power that he suffocates all the fun and all the life out of the room. That guy's middle management guy, right? Like, that's defensive coordinator Greg Schiano. Head coach Greg Schiano is about to suck all the life out of the room, unless he somehow learned the lesson, right? Because, again, NFL players make a lot of money to play football. Even the guys that don't make millions are still making more money than you would think to play a game. And if they can't enjoy playing football while being paid to play football, you've got a bad personality. That is an overbearing personality. Like, how overbearing do you have to be to make not playing a game for money fun? I mean, my goodness. But yeah, Greg Schiano. Not a hit in Tampa Bay. And he was good at Rutgers. Like, the reason why he got hired at Tampa Bay in the first place was he took Rutgers to a level that Rutgers had not previously reached. And quite frankly, you wouldn't expect to reach at Rutgers University. The Scarlet Knights. He took him to a higher level. He did. I mean, I'll give him his due there. Right? But I'm talking about this man being the next head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. Yeah, no. Thank you. He might take them to a higher level just defensively, which I think you're going to have to do. Right? Like, you're going to be playing against Georgia every year. Look, you can't allow them to run roughshod on you like they did this year. They ran through your defense like it was not even there. That's not going to be acceptable. Greg Schiano can fix that. But A, I don't know about the development of any of your offensive players. Not a one. Nor do I think your players would enjoy playing football if Greg Schiano were the head coach of the football team. Because we heard it at Rutgers, and now we've heard it at Tampa Bay. Two places where he got the opportunity to be a head coach. People weren't having fun, right? Now, he's the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. You can see how successful that's been, right? Like, he's been very good defensively for the Buckeyes. But, I mean, he coached the Buccaneers, man. The Buccaneers were 7-9 before he got there. They were 4-12 when he was done. He was like, you guys are bad. Allow me to help you become all the way bad. Let me help you just become all the way terrible. And also, you have no fun while you become all the way terrible. Right? Like, his time at Rutgers was successful. Right? Like, he improved. He took that team that was a not good Rutgers team, and he took them to, by the time 2006 rolled around, he got them to as high as number 7 in the AP polls. He got them a record of 11-2, which they haven't seen anything close to that since he's departed. He coached there for 11 years. He was 68 and 67 overall. But in the last 7 seasons, he was 56 and 33. So once he was able to get his system in place and get things the way he wanted it to, they were good. My question is, what kind of good do you want to be, and at what cost? Because I don't think you necessarily want the guy that makes football not fun for everybody. That's not good. Right? You'll win games. Now, I don't know how many games, right? Because coaching at Rutgers is hardly coaching at Tennessee. And I don't believe Rutgers was in the Big Ten the entire time that he was coaching there. Right? I think that's the leap that Rutgers ended up making near the end of his stint there. So, and I don't believe that the Big Ten was as dominant then and as difficult to play then as it is now. Big Ten's tough now. I mean, you look at Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Michigan State and Wisconsin, who we continue to underrate time and time and time again. When you look at all of them, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Watch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. Rather have Brady Hoke than Greg Schiano, to be honest with you. Right? Like, Greg Schiano's good, but it was between Brady Hoke, who just looking at the way that the Vols have played since he's taken over, they're trying for him. They're really trying for him. So there's that. And I'm just saying, not having a bunch of guys resent the head coach is a good place to be for the head coach. I'd rather have Brady Hoke than Greg Schiano. Right? Or at least figure out how to hang on to somebody for a year. while you try and find a quality head coach. Not that Greg Schiano's not quality, not that Brady Hoke's not quality, but if you think you can do better, if you think you can sign the big name. So Gus Malzahn suddenly has options, right? Gus Malzahn, who almost got fired last year. Auburn and LSU played last year, and that was the game that almost cost Gus Malzahn his job. Now Gus Malzahn is on top of the world. He's trying to get paid from Auburn. If Auburn doesn't want to pay him the way he feels he should be paid, Gus Malzahn can go to Arkansas and get paid there. Gus Malzahn can go to a lot of places and get paid. That's how he's managed to turn his entire situation around. And also, he should be thanking Jarrett Stidham every day of his life for the last year. That Jarrett Stidham bothered to go to Auburn and give him the quality quarterback that he needed to be successful. Because they worked over Georgia. You're Gus Malzahn, you know you can beat Georgia, so you know you can beat the team in the East. Now it's about catching Saban. If you go to Arkansas and you're Gus Malzahn, right? Like, say you do that. To me, that's, first off, that's the move to make. And the reason why that's the move to make is you're going to get some time. You're going to get some patience. You're going to get to build up your team. The pressure at Arkansas, it's not as strong. It isn't. Arkansas fans are tough, right? Like, that's the thing. Arkansas fans will come down on you if you stink. They don't have patience for guys who stink. But they do have patience in terms of letting a guy build up his system. I mean, Brett Bielema got way more time than I ever imagined Brett Bielema was going to get, given that Brett Bielema was nowhere near as successful as he has previously been at Arkansas. Brett Bielema's had struggles there. I mean, for starters, the dude never beat Kevin Sumlin and Texas A&M. Now, it's one thing to say, you never beat Saban. Okay. And there was a time in the East where it was like, okay, yeah, you never beat Mark Richt. Fine. You never beat Kevin Sumlin? Like, anybody's beaten Kevin Sumlin who's played him in the second half of Texas A&M's schedule. What do you mean you haven't beaten Kevin Sumlin? But that's not even a thing. Brett Bielema never beat Kevin Sumlin. Ever. His entire time at Arkansas, he never did it. You're Gus Malzahn, you get a chance to start over at Arkansas. They're going to give you some time to build. And being in the spot that Arkansas is, you get the ability to recruit in Texas. You get the ability to recruit in Tennessee. Like, Arkansas is in a good spot for recruiting, as we've seen, because it's not like Bielema did a bad job of recruiting. But Bielema got a lot of talent. You got Austin Allen. You got Devin Whaley. He got talented guys. Right? Multiple 1,000-yard rushers every year, basically, outside of this year. I mean, Brett Bielema's been successful with this, and it's not something to shake a stick at there, but Brett Bielema's been good. I'm just looking at it from that perspective and saying, well, you got to win, though, and you've got to beat the rivals. And if you're not going to beat Kevin Sumlin and Texas A&M, that's not good. And then, of course, you're not really beating much of anybody else. Like, it's not like Brett Bielema was consistently beating LSU, Auburn, Alabama, any of those teams. You're just constantly underachieving and then losing games that they really ought not to have lost at all. Like, that's problematic. You can't have that. And if you're Gus, you get to go over there and fill the vacuum, right? Like, there's some guys you don't want to follow. It's a tough act to follow. Nobody wants to be the person, right? Like, if you're a comedian, you don't want to be the guy following Dave Chappelle or following Bill Burr. Those guys are great. Like, if you're not at that level, you don't want to follow Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld. Why? Nobody wants to follow those people. Who do you want to follow? Amy Schumer. That's a good. Andrew Dice Clay, even though people used to like Andrew Dice Clay. So maybe not Andrew Dice Clay then, Andrew Dice Clay now. Because I hear he still does shows in Vegas and stuff. You want to follow Andrew Dice Clay now? Right? Hey! Him and his nursery rhyme jokes. He would make nursery rhyme jokes and then go, oh! Yeah, you want to follow Andrew Dice Clay. Gus Malzahn following Brett Bielema at Arkansas would be the equivalent of being a comedian and following Andrew Dice Clay right now. That'd be the equivalent there. Clutch with Keanu Rosa at Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch and have a nice Thanksgiving.
.3 HD4, 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
A drive-by shooting in Chattanooga leaves one man cut down, lying on the street, bleeding. Tony Williams, who's 26, says he was walking along Dodson Avenue when an unknown car pulled up beside him. Someone leaned out and opened fire. Mr. Williams is recovering in the hospital. He told police he doesn't know who shot him or why. The Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. William Travis Williams is accused of trying to escape from Memorial Hospital, assaulting a hospital employee on the way out, getting into a fight with a policeman and taking his taser, then hiding inside a homeowner's domicile, fighting with the homeowner, getting into another fight with police where he was pepper sprayed. That didn't stop him either, before he was finally taken into custody by a canine unit. Mr. Williams charged with 6 counts of aggravated assault, resisting arrest, evading arrest, and especially aggravated burglary. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6 on Nooga Radio. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. Now.
Expect a few leftover clouds out there through your nighttime. Overnight lows cool between 38 and 41. For Wednesday, lots of sunshine returns. Nice but chilly, highs near 55. After lows into the lower to middle 30s. More sunshine Thanksgiving Day, back into the 50s. At Jared, they turn feelings into jewelry. It could be a piece that jewelry designers create just for Jared, or a piece custom made just for you. The one unique gift just for her. That's why he went to Jared. And I'm sworn
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
92.7 digital FM 95.3 HD4 Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Pam Coulter. While he's happy that women are coming forward to talk about sexual harassment, President Trump is defending Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, who's been accused of chasing teenage girls. CBS's Stephen Portnoy has more.
Asked about the many accusers who say Roy Moore hit on them or even abused them as teens, President Trump said only this.
He totally denies it. He says it didn't happen.
Leaving the White House to spend Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump called Moore's Democratic opponent, Doug Jones, a liberal.
You don't need somebody who's soft on crime like Jones.
The president said he believes it's good for society that women are speaking out about abuse. He says he's very happy it's being exposed. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
CBS News has fired Charlie Rose in the wake of allegations that he made lewd comments to, groped, and exposed himself to women connected to his PBS show. Nora O'Donnell is co-host of CBS This Morning.
This is a moment that demands a frank and honest assessment about where we stand and, more generally, the safety of women. Let me be very clear. There is no excuse for this alleged behavior.
Several women at CBS have also come forward to accuse Rose of sexual misconduct. Democrat John Conyers, the longest-serving member of the House, is facing an ethics investigation